Hello, and welcome to Convinced Catholicism, a place for all things Catholic. Today we have a book that's very near and dear to my heart. One of those books that I probably read in the evening. I started it completely cover to cover. Such an amazing book, Crossing the Threshold of Hope. And of course, it's by Pope St. John Paul the Great, Pope St. John Paul II. And this book is just absolutely wonderful. This isn't necessarily a biography or an autobiography, I should say, of John Paul II, but it does get into a lot of personal matters of the Pope, but it goes over some of the, I guess, the pressing questions of our time. And honestly, who better to answer those questions than John Paul II, the saint and man who honestly brought to light what the papacy is and honestly elevated it to a level that had really never been seen before. There was no pope with such publicity since maybe Leo the 13th, and boy, did he blow Leo the 13th out of the water. The first pope on film, Leo the 13th, by the way. Before we get into the details of this book, let's go ahead and take the measurements of it. It is, and it's a little bit warped because, of course, I've read through it. Right, it is almost 4.5 inches wide and 8 inches tall, and I don't know how many inches thick. Let's take a look. 3/4 of an inch thick. So this is something that you could read on the train or the bus, or take it with you to the laundromat or whatever. Very easy read. This is not a prayer book. This is a book to sit down and read, which, if I'm not mistaken, this is kind of the first or second book to do such a thing. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the back says first. A great international bestseller, the book in which Pope John Paul II brings to an accessible level the great theological concerns of our lives. He goes to the heart of his personal beliefs and speaks with passion about the existence of God, about the dignity of man, about pain, suffering, and evil, about eternal life and the meaning of salvation, about hope, about the relationship of Christianity to others, to other faiths, and that of Catholicism to other branches of the Christian faith, with the humility and generosity of the spirit for which he is known. John Paul II speaks directly and forthrightly to all people. And of course, his message is one that is found, according to my former pastor from when I was a child, be not afraid, or something like that, appears 365 days or 365 times in the Bible. So we can remember not to be afraid every day of the year. I don't know if that's true or not, but this book is wonderful. And like I said, it does go to hard hitting issues, and in a time where the world began at a drastic rate to abandon organized religion. I would say that the 60s and 70s became the time where people became, quote unquote, spiritual but not religious. And that can be problematic in and of itself, which is a time for, that's a different, that's a different video altogether. And I would say that John Paul II in many ways was not just a leader for the Catholic faith, but a world leader, someone who was just such a prominent figure in the 20th and very early 21st century, and just someone who's very, very central in the political scale, the theological scale, the pop culture scale. Someone that certainly took his role as a servant of God very seriously. very, very seriously. And it's published by Knopf Publishing. I'll put a link to the Amazon affiliate link in the bottom. So how this book came to be, we can, that's just a very quick preface, obviously. But we can see what some of the issues that John Paul II wrote about in this book. The Pope, a Scandal and a Mystery, with different sections, so it's very easy to read in one sitting, like I think I did. Praying. John Paul II was very adamant about prayer. He really, and I would say correctly, felt that prayer was incredibly important, and just as long as you prayed sincerely, that was pleasing to God. But this is something interesting that I wanted to read. One can and must pray in many different ways, as the Bible teaches through a multitude of examples. The book of Psalms is irreplaceable. We must pray with, quote-unquote, inexpressible groanings in order to enter into rhythm with the spiritual entreaties. To obtain forgiveness, one must implore, become part of the loud cries of Christ the Redeemer. Though through all of this, one must proclaim glory. Prayer is always an opus gloriae. Man is the priest of all creation. Christ conferred upon him his dignity and vocation. Creation completes its opus gloriae, both by being what is and by its duty to become what should be. I want to point out that this is a very straightforward read. The sentences are nice and short, very direct and to the point. Someone with any basic educational level can read this and get the point. There's nothing vague or unclear about what this beloved saint is saying. And he's trying to be as honest and forward as possible. How does the Pope pray? And he's giving personal example of how he feels about many of these questions and issues. Does God really exist? Is Jesus the Son of God? If God exists, why is he hiding? The proof of God, is it still valid? Why is there so much evil in the world? This book is honestly wonderful for anyone who is having doubts, or if they want to make an example of themselves and, I wouldn't say proselytize, but be a disciple and preach the gospel in the way that they live their lives, and they want to be able to help people who have these pressing issues tormenting them. This is a great book. I feel like it's very much in the vein of many of the books by C.S. Lewis. The the problem of pain, a grief observed, a great divorce, mere Christianity, miracles, so on and so forth. I feel that it's very much in the same vein as that, though this is someone who's much more learned and trained in theology, and not to mention someone who's Catholic, not to knock C.S. Lewis at all. This video is not so much a review of the work, because I am not worthy of reviewing a book written by a saint and possibly the greatest pope of all time. More so a revelation that it exists to those who do not. Even if you're not Catholic, let's say you are Christian, let's say you are Orthodox, which is a type of Christian, let's say that you are religious and you want to see what the Catholic Church believes on issues such as why are people divided, in search of lost unity, what is the new evangelism, so on and so forth, the stance of the Catholic Church on Judaism, on Buddha, so on and so forth. If you want to see what the Catholic Church believes, if you want to understand who this person was historically, if you want to get a better idea of some of the hard-pressing questions, this is an excellent, excellent book. Like I said, And I'm not a good reader. I will be the first to admit that. I struggle reading, but this I honestly read in maybe 1 or 2 sittings. It's a great book, and it's so humble. And look, it comes with a wonderful, excuse me, an index for all the Bible passages that John Paul II refers to, and an index of all the issues in general that he and people that he references and mentions. Abortion, Academy of Krakow, Australian Aborigines, baptism, evangelism, faith. I'm just reading random ones. Christmas, a bunch of Polish names that I can't pronounce. The problem of hell, modern man's insensitivity to last things, purgatory, so on and so forth. This is by no means a replacement of the Catechism, but it's certainly much more approachable than the Catechism. There will be a review on the Catechism at some point, or not necessarily a review, but some sort of showing of options that you can take a look at. That's it for today. Thank you very much. Be sure to subscribe. It's absolutely free to do so. We're very close to 900 and eventually 1,000 subscribers. I want to point out that at 1,000 subscribers, I will be doing a live stream where I will be answering people's questions from a Q&A, in which I'll have some pre-selected questions, and then I will also have some people ask questions, hopefully, while the live stream is going on. I also have a locals page where you can support the page monetarily monthly, something as little as $2 or $3 a month. And make sure you share the video with anyone who might enjoy it. Thank you very much. Take care, and God bless.